I'm Brenda Roberts, and welcome to Q Up Spokane, brought to you by KQUP TV RTN 24. And we're going to have a chance today to learn more about the Spokane community and what the Center for Justice is doing, and give you an opportunity to get involved. My guest is the Chief Catalyst for the Center for Justice, Brian Beggs. Brian, thanks so much for taking the time to come and share with us.
Well, I'm glad for the chance to do so. The Center sees itself as Spokane's law firm to do what Spokane needs, and anytime we can share what we're doing, that's a win for us.
Now, the Center for Justice, how long has it been operational here in Spokane?
The Center was started 7 years ago as an alternative to government-funded legal aid programs so that we had the freedom to represent the people who didn't have money or influence in the legal system, provide them lawyers, and create positive community change.
Now, I know that there's two very publicized cases that you're working on, one being the AutoZim case, and now there's another follow-on, I believe, that you're working on too. If you'd like to elaborate on that.
Sure. Well, the AutoZim case really got us into police practices in Spokane. It was reported in the news that AutoZim had some disabilities. He was confronted in a convenience store and died there as a result of police contact, and it turned out he had done nothing wrong. So we really started looking into how did that happen? How could it be prevented? And we came up with a whole set of ideas that have started to be implemented. But just in May of 2007, another man was killed in a very similar circumstance. His name was Trent Yo, except this time the sheriff's office was involved. And we had thought that the sheriff's office had been following the Spokane Department's lead on updates, but they were quoted as saying they had done nothing as that. And so now we're turning our attention to the Sheriff's Department as well on what policies and training they have that will prevent deaths in the future.
Now, both cases, they were handcuffed and laid down right on their...
Yeah, they were handcuffed, and then they were leg cuffed, and then the legs and the wrists were tied together by rope or some behind them, and they put them on their stomach.
Right.
And that can lead to what's called positional asphyxiation or suffocating because all the weight's on your diaphragm there. So that was how AutoZim died according to the medical examiner. Word's still out on Mr. Yo. We don't have the autopsy report yet. But they were also both tasered. They also both had medical issues. Mr. Yo, according to the police, was having a seizure when he was contacted by the police. And instead of calling the ambulance people, they decided to handcuff him. And both died in their 30s at a time they probably shouldn't have died.
So just getting maybe that practice of the method they're using, the technique they're using alone, at least, you know, giving it second thoughts.
Yeah, you know, we've done quite a bit of research, and where we've gone to research is the actual police think tank organizations, and they are now recommending that you don't do the wrist to ankle tying, which some people call hog tying. Don't do that. Especially don't do that if the person is already in distress, because they're more fragile that way. But we've looked beyond that of saying, how could we put in some structures that would really protect the officers and the citizens? And one of the main things we came up with is an independent Office of Police Oversight, where you have law enforcement professionals unconnected to the police or sheriff's office, fielding citizen complaints, doing good investigation, making recommendations on changes. And the new police chief, Patrick, has agreed to do that. The mayor has agreed to do that. They are now writing the laws based on a model that we presented to the city that should put that in place. And that, we think, will really help, not just individual cases, but in training and understanding. Now with this new sheriff's case coming in, we're hoping that the sheriff's office will join. They can split the cost of the office and really bring the police and sheriff's office to an even higher level of professionalism.
It sounds like the structure needs to be there, and it needs to be in some kind of regulatory format, doesn't it?
It does, and the reason it's there is not just to improve things, but it gives the law enforcement credibility. Right now, they've been investigating themselves, and even if they did a great investigation, a lot of the public just doesn't trust them. When it's independent, they can be trusted. And once the law enforcement regains trust, they'll get more cooperation by citizens, more funding for officers, and the whole community will be better, which is exactly what the Center for Justice tries to target. So we want to help the families of the men who died, but we're also looking ways to leverage their case into change for the entire community.
And speaking of the community, I'd like for you to go ahead and, tell the folks that are out there how they might be able to get some good legal advice right down at the park.
Well, that's great. This summer, we're doing a joint project with the Volunteer Lawyers Program in Center for Justice. It's called Street Law. Saturday afternoons from Memorial Day through Labor Day, except for Hoop Fest.
Okay.
We have between 3 and 5 lawyers set up under a little tent near the carousel, providing free legal advice and consultation to anyone who walks up. Any issue.
Do you have a little legal aid on your hats or anything?
Yeah, we've
or a
got
little table?
T-shirts.
Okay.
Street Law T-shirts. There's big sandwich boards. And we have tables.
So you're easy to find.
Yeah, we're very easy to
Okay.
find. The YMCA has let us store all our equipment in their building, which is just next door to us. And we're there, and we can give about 10 or 15 minutes to each person. And sometimes it's just explaining how the court system is going to deal with their problem. Sometimes it's filling out some paperwork. And sometimes we're referring people to actual agencies. I'll give you an example. When I was there a couple Saturdays ago, a woman was there. She was someone that had some questions about domestic violence. And so there's an agency that does that in town that we were able to tell her about right then and give her a special card that could get her kind of to the front of the line of them because they knew it had been vetted by us. So, that
That's
of
very
course,
helpful.
that was a great situation.
Right.
Most of the people there, it's not urgent. But people are so afraid to go to a law office. How much will they owe? How does it work?
Sure.
And the truth is most lawyers will spend some time with you, not charge you. But it's a lot easier if they're right there in the park and you can leave whenever you want. And so it's really working well.
And another thing that I really appreciate that you shared with me is that originally lawyers were the healers of a community. Can you elaborate on that? Because
Yeah.
that is an image, I think, if we could project that alone, would relieve some of that anxiety about visiting a lawyer.
It's so funny. If you look on TV and the movies, lawyers are kind of half detectives and half hired gunslingers. And really, that's not what lawyers do and not the tradition. Originally, lawyers had the profession of helping people resolve conflict. That's what they did. They resolved conflict between people. And so when people come to a lawyer, it's because they're in conflict with somebody. It might be over money, it might be over child custody or something. The lawyer's job is to resolve it and heal it so that the people leave better off than they were when they came. People may not know, but 95% of all cases that are filed are actually resolved by a settlement that the lawyers put together. And that's only the cases that are filed. There's probably twice as many cases that arise that never even get filed, and lawyers figure them out. And so lawyers have always had that role in our society of resolving conflict, but they haven't gotten much credit, probably because it doesn't make for good TV or good movies. But that's what we do. And the best lawyers are really the best at resolving conflict, not on fighting and raising more issues. We probably got a little bit of a bad rap, and street law is a great opportunity to see
Right.
lawyers volunteering their time
Yes,
during the summer and helping people resolve their conflicts.
So we hope all of you will come down and, participate in that as needed. Now, and it is at the river. It's right by the river, which also the Center for Justice is involved in, as far as river cleanup and sponsoring workshops for you to get involved too, to help.
Yeah,
So explain that.
Well, the Center for Justice, because we don't get government legal aid money, we're free to tackle whatever problems we think the community have. And in our community, one of the big issues is polluted river. It goes right through our town, right through our signature park. People swim in it. People use the aquifer, which
Seen
is
them
connected.
fish in it.
They fish. The water system that we all drink interacts with the river. A lot of people don't know that. It
Right.
goes back and forth, and so it's critically important.